Thanks, Alison. That was a great presentation. I'm inspired now. Thanks, Jim. I'm just going to talk a bit about South Africa and the Greater Rustenburg Community Foundation, of which, as Alison said, I'm a board member. It's all Gord's fault. Where is he? Gord? Yeah, there you are. It's all his fault. I met him in February and he messed up my thinking completely. The work that I do at the UN turned it upside down. And we're doing work now with the South African government, and that's getting messed up. So thank you. Just a bit about Rustenburg. It's a small town just 2 hours north of Pretoria and Johannesburg. It's relatively insignificant, except for some reason, some strange reason, 75% of the world's platinum is found there. The rest is in Russia, and then there's a bit in Canada. So who knows why these things happen, but that's what happens. So it's called the Platinum Province. There's about 1 million people, 1 million plus. It's difficult to count because just everybody keeps streaming in because of all the platinum. And it's quite a mix of people. As you can see, there's about 500,000 Tswana, Zulu, Xhosas, etc. There's 200,000 of the Bafokeng tribe, which is Africa's richest tribe, because a lot of the platinum is on their land and they happen to have license rights to it. So they do very well. There's about 200,000 Afrikaans, so Dutch descendants, so white. 10,000 migrants from Lesotho, Mozambique, etc., who come to the mines, extremely poor. 5,000 English, Greek, Portuguese, etc. 5,000 Indians, of which there's Muslims and Hindus. 5,000 immigrants from China, Somalia, Nigeria, etc. And so all of the challenges that come with this. South Africa is the highest Gini coefficient, the gap between the rich and poor. We just overtook Brazil about 2 years ago. You know, I don't know if that's a good thing, right? We have a 29% HIV prevalence rate, and this is amongst mothers coming to test higher than the national average. So these are some serious challenges. And then, of course, with all of those groups there, you have xenophobia, you have racial issues, etc. So amidst all of this incredible wealth, I mean, there is so much money in the city, it's just money rich. Yet with all of this, you have the complexity of multiple and diverse communities struggling to find their place in the city. And so the Greater Rustenburg Community Foundation was formed. And of course, as most foundations, it starts off with get some money and give some money away, right? And that's the way that it works. So you get some money, and then you give some money away. And that's how all foundations, even if it's, we think of donors as just givers, but they've got to get money from somewhere too, right? So even if it's the CSI department of the corporate social responsibility department of a company, they've got to get money from the company and they've got to account for it. So even donors and foundations are in exactly the same place. Even if it's a wealthy family foundation, there's the family wondering, where's our money going to, right? So that same challenge happened to us. And so we figured, well, can we as a foundation add value? Are we just handing out money, or are we actually doing something? And in South Africa, we have what we think is a unique place to be able to do that. We can do asset mapping, which we do. We go into a community and for 6 months, just sit with them. That's all we do. We just sit with them and listen to them and map their assets. We support NGOs and NPOs. We do research and validation. We report. We do the triple bottom line for NPOs and NGOs and for communities on behalf of the companies that want to spend CSI money there. In South Africa, there's a big thing called Black Economic Empowerment, which means that every piece of investment has to have a local indigenous or black component to it. And so we assist in that reporting for companies. So if there's a big mining company and they want to do something, we assist them with the reporting because we're kind of the link between the community and the corporate world. We try and be efficient and well-managed, and that's something that we punt to the people that give us money, but also the people that take money. Monitoring and evaluation, accountability, integrity, tax benefits. So we said, you know what, we're not just the middleman that takes costs, right? We're actually going to add value to this process. And that's important, I think, for foundations. And so how much percentage, what is the percentage of the money that we get that we keep for all of this? And the answer is a big fat 0. So we actually raise separate money to do all of this. So if somebody gives us money to give away, 100% of that money goes to the person or the community that it was intended for. So we think this model is pretty neat. So instead of top down, it's flat, right? Well, That's from our perspective, because of course, as a foundation, we think we're in the center of the world. And all of us, as donors or as government, we all think, or as community workers, we all think that we're in the center. And sometimes that begs the question, what is the center of gravity in this entire thing? Is it government? Is it communities? Is it business? Is it donors, NGOs, academia? Who are the center? And of course, we always look at things from our perspective. And of course, the center is you. Right? We are the center. Everybody thinks they're the center, and we need to understand that. Communities think they're the center. Government thinks they're the center. That's how we need to work. We need to understand that everybody in this puzzle plays a key role. And everybody has, as Jody said, a pair of glasses. And all of us look at things from our perspective. And so, again, Jody, I'm learning a whole lot of vocabulary in this meeting. Gord, I'm learning a whole lot of new words here. Thanks, Jody. Co-conspirators in change. And kind of touching on what you said yesterday, just now, Jim, in terms of the roles of community and, in this case, the donors. You can start off with the community as clients. They have lots of needs and requests. They come to you and say, please help us. And of course, us being the donor, we have lots of money, we're the charitable giver. And we have demands and requirements, and we need you to do this, this, and this. We can only give you if you are this. And of course, that's pretty coercive, and that's kind of the traditional model of charitable giving. And then, hopefully, and that's when you do stuff for people. And that's good. It's a nice start. At least you're doing something for somebody. Makes you feel good, makes them feel disempowered, but at least something's happening. And then we move to this new model. We say, well, we're doing it with you. And that sounds better, right? It makes us feel better because, we're together, we're with you, etc. And sometimes that becomes catalytic. So the donor is still charitable. Word again, catalyst, thank you. I now know what a catalyst is. I did know it before, but now I understand it in this context. I started out my career in engineering, so a very different picture of what a catalyst is. But now I realize that a catalyst is somebody who makes change happen but doesn't change themselves. And so that's great. A lot of donors are that way. We think we're causing change, but we don't need to change. And so we do still things with the citizens. We try and give citizens options and opportunities and try and move them into citizens from clients. It's good. It's catalytic. And so it sounds great. Things are happening. But it's not really where we want to go. And I think ideally we want to go to a place where we are being changed. Both sides of the coin, whether it's the city, the donors, government, etc., businesses, academia, everybody's changing in this process along with the community that we're trying to develop. So it becomes a collaborative, shared experience where we have shared values and mutual expectations and experiences. And I think that's ideally where, and I'm not saying we're there yet, but I think ideally that's where all of us want to be going. And how do you get these? Easy. How do you get change with your kids? You beat them, you control them, you intimidate them, you manipulate them, right? If it works with your kids, of course it can work with the community, right? And so, how do you get your kids to do to share your expectations? You restrict them, you beat them down, you twist them if you're smart. My wife's pretty smart, so I try and manipulate her, but it doesn't always work. And of course, there's another more riskier approach, and that's to empower them, or us, because in the empowering them, guess what happens? It frees us up. When you try and affirm somebody, guess what? It builds us up. When you try and influence somebody, guess what? It guides us. And this is another approach. Now, it's of course risky. If you try it with your kids, very dangerous, because it means that you're seeing them as equal partners in this process of discovery. They're not just your kids anymore, but they're understanding, capable individuals. And it's a very difficult and a risky way for a foundation or a donor or a government, etc., to work with a community. It's much easier to control, intimidate, and manipulate. It works. That's why we use it. It's short term, it benefits us. It doesn't do much for the other person, but it certainly helps us, right? Helps us as governments, businesses, donors, etc. Yes, so this definitely does work. It works on our kids. It doesn't do much for the kids, but it does work for us. This works for both of us. And I suggest that that's the internal process that we as co-conspirators need to go through.